Exploding corpses, mangled remains, and some seriously creepy photographs. Here's why royals never have open caskets during their funerals. Before her funeral on Monday, September 19th, Queen Elizabeth II's body laid in state so that mourners could pay their respects. Her closed coffin arrived at Westminster Hall on Wednesday, September 14th, and was accessible to the public 24 hours a day until the day of her funeral. The queue to visit the coffin stretched more than 5 miles across London.
No sensation on my knees at all or legs. But it's been fine.
The coffin is protected by highly trained guards and draped in a royal flag with a crown placed on top. It was made 32 years ago out of English oak, an expensive wood rarely used in coffin making. The coffin is lined with lead so the body does not decay as quickly. However, the inside of the coffin is not for the public's viewing. While open casket funerals may be more common in the United States, that isn't always the fashion in Great Britain, particularly when it comes to the royals. Funerary traditions have changed a fair bit in the United Kingdom since the death of the nation's last Anglo-Saxon monarch, King Harold II, in 1066. Harold died on the battlefield and is believed to have been so badly mangled that only his wife could identify his body. His opponent and successor, William the Conqueror, took pains to ensure there was no shrine to honor the fallen Harold, and so the exact location of his remains are still a mystery. William the Conqueror died in Normandy, France in 1087. While attempting a Christian burial of the king at the Abbey of Saint-Étienne, it is said that his funeral attendants botched the ceremony. Apparently, his corpse exploded from an effort to shove his body into too small of a coffin, and the church was left with a pungent smell as a result. Historians believe this unfortunate turn of events allowed for the looting and desecration of the remains, which might have led to stricter burial practices. When King Henry VIII died some 500 years later, England was under the religious control of the newly created Anglican Church. Yet Henry VIII's funeral had all the pomp, circumstance, and iconography of a Catholic affair. It was a scene full of horses, incense smoke, and gleaming portraits of saints, attended by thousands of mourners over 10 days of processions. Like Harold II, Henry VIII's corpse exploded, and it is said that dogs licked up his bodily fluids, though it's possible that story is apocryphal. Queen Mary II's funeral in the spring of 1695 cost £50,000. That's about the equivalent of $11 million today. Mary died of smallpox at 32, but only had a small rash on her chest and face. Artistic renderings of the sovereign's lying in state indicate that her casket was open. The public could view the Queen in her purple and gold gown for a price during set hours each day. Diarist John Evelyn observed, "The glamour and grandiosity of this funeral was yet another performance of a public identity, reflecting how the royal body is greater than the individual." Until the death of Queen Elizabeth II, Queen Victoria was the longest reigning British monarch. During her reign between 1837 and 1901, the rapidly developing medium of photography would make her the most seen monarch of her time. In fact, the public had seen her in photographs since she was 20 years old. She and her husband, Prince Albert, shared a passion for photography, which is perhaps why a photographer was allowed access to the monarch on her deathbed. The Victorians in England were particularly influential when it came to death photography, a practice that would later carry over to the United States. After all, this was a means of preserving the memory of someone who died. This type of photography fell out of favor at the beginning of the 20th century. While many Americans of various faiths believe an open casket is a similar way in which closure can be provided and memory can be preserved, the Anglican Church instructions simply state, "The coffin is to be closed before the liturgy, and it remains closed thereafter. It is appropriate that it be covered with a funeral pall or other suitable covering."